What's up, amigos? Coming to Jaime here today. Today, we're going to do something different. We're going to do a card reveal. And so I am humbled and honored by Bushiroad to be able to do this, to show you guys for the first time in the world a card reveal. And if you haven't guessed it yet, by my hat or by my name in my channel, it is the mighty Aqua Force. We're covering a Stride and a G-Guard at the same time too. So, Alchemagic, Blue Furious Charged Dragon, Ferragus Dragon. I hope I said that correctly. So for the Stride, it is at the end of the battle that this unit attack, you can counterblast one, turn a card face up in your G zone, and get an imaginary gift exile. Choose up to the same number of your rearguards as the same number of face up cards in your G zone and stand them. Then choose up to one of your rearguards and move it to an additional open rearguard circle, and it gets an additional plus 10k until the end of turn. So just wow, and like wow, and really it does a lot. So you know, one of the things that I saw right off the back, it does use a counterblast just like with any of our strides. When we're, you know, play as Aqua Force players, we compare it to Gembold, to Alexandros, to Lambros, to Valeos, cards that we have in our arsenal already. It's like, what does this do in addition to that toolbox that we have access to? And really it just has that flexibility in the sense to do something else, which that could be in those niche scenarios that we may run into in that sense too. Like right off the back, you can flip anything in the G zone. 9 times out of 10 is going to be Gaphilia, so that you can use it later to be able to countercharge or unlock something. We get an imaginary gift exile. Like, wait, what? Let's just take that for a minute and soak in, and then be able to like restand units on top of that, depending on how many face up cards that we have. So first Stride, you know, if you don't have anything face up prior to that, you will stand only one rearguard, which is kind of like Luster in that sense too. But as you can see, this skill can scale really well, and that's phenomenal because once you get enough cards face up in the G zone, let's say 3, 4, 5 to 6 cards in face up in the G zone, you can essentially just restand your whole field and then have more Excel circles to scale in that sense too. So you have cards to put onto the board and be able to restand as many columns or additional rearguard circles that you can attack with. So a good example is that you have your 2 usual columns, and let's say you have 3 Excel circles. That's 5 attacks from 5 different rearguards technically. And then now if you have this Stride to stand all those 5 rearguards, you have 10 rearguard attacks in total. Not only that, but you have your Vanguard attack, and then your Vanguard, if you put a unit behind the Vanguard and move that guy now to the additional gift marker that you just created, that's another attack, and you can easily see 12 attacks in that sense. So you can have a lot of attacks, and so really where this card shines is when your opponents have 5 damage, because they have to guard everything. Because if you really think about it, all the cards that they have in the hand is like per attack that they have to guard at a minimum. So if they have 8 cards, they can at most guard 8 times in a sense. It's a good justification. Obviously there's some plays that can maybe change variances, but for most of the time it's a really good assessment and to be able to push and actually deal that 6 damage. A deck that's a really good example to take advantage of that is the Davos deck, because when you go to grade 3 and you're going first, you're going to do your Lambo Pseudo Stride from the main deck and end the turn with 2 Excel circles, and then next turn if you do rewrite, you can get 3, or if you didn't write, you Stride this, you have 3 to 4 Excel circles to work with in that sense too. So you can really take advantage of G guarding early too, to have more cards face up in the G zone and be able to stand multiple rearguards and really like go for that kill turn immediately if things pan out in that situation too, especially if your opponent's already at 5 damage from the prior turn that you did with that aggression too. And because you have so many Excel circles and rearguards to attack with, you can easily go over 10 attacks in that single turn. Now you may be wondering, like, yeah, it's nice to restand all our units, but we need power still. Like, yes, that one unit gets power, but what about the rest of our units? And that's a great thing to point out. But we have cards like Coral Assault, we have cards like Pursuit Assault, Riptide, that become beaters or are beaters in that sense too, that just we can utilize to have that aggression. So if you're restanding cards like that, or the cards that get power overall, it's a really good time to be able to use those cards. We have also like the Spiritual Body Condensation that can give plus 5k to a rearguard, and other rearguards that can give power too. So you can have some wiggle room in that sense to be able to give power to those rearguards that are going to be roosted on the sense of that too. Also, depending on the matchup and the deck that you use, you may have to decide if you're going Excel 1 or Excel 2. You're going to generate an additional Excel circle, so it really depends if you want even more aggression or you want some draw advantage to go along with that too. So that way, you can really build a consistent field and also keep advantage to be able to survive the following turn, or just finishing off that turn as well because of the added aggression in that too. As I analyze this card even more, I realize there's a lot of more uses outside the norm too, because sometimes we have to deal with certain matchups, and a good matchup is Lean Joker. Lean Joker can make it difficult for us to be able to an effective turn, but because we're able to reset multiple units, we're flipping cards in the G zone, so you can use Gaphilia to unlock units, but we're also generating an additional rearguard circle that we could move a rearguard to. So you can start having multi-attack still against Lean Joker and have access to like Gaphilia still and all the other cards that can like put aggression in that matchup too. So it just kind of helps in that. It doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but it just helps with that too as well. But I'm more excited about a different scenarios where you're dealing with disruptive plays. Like, what is a disruptive play? That could be a Denial Griffin from Kagero, that'd be Cannoneer from Grand Blue, and many others that can really just remove one of our rear guards during our battle phase. That disrupts our turns and can impact the power of our turns. Like, think about Alexandros, where it beats up 2 units and they get rid of 1 or 2 of them, and that's our power turn, right? It hurts. But with this card, you're resetting everything. So at that point, it's just like, if you pop 1 of them, it's not the end of the day, because you have more attacks still to go upon, and it's like more like you're less susceptible to get denied in that turn, essentially, while you're still able to add aggression to it and be able to maybe keep the pressure on, or maybe even finish that turn where you need to really finish that turn. Another cool thing about this card, because we generate an Excel circle by an effect, you can technically run the old grade 3s from Limit Break era, from G era, and even into more the current future with overdress. And so you have these giftless grade 3s that you can now utilize and have this stride to give you an Excel circle in Aqua Force, which is really cool. You know, if there's something in G era like Favas or different like break strides in the sense that we have access to, that might be an avenue to search for. Or if you see with like stoicheia, for example, we can play Magnolia, we can play Zorga, we can play Flagberg, but I think the most synergetic one is actually Flagberg, because Flagberg plays in the way where every rearguard's really attacked before even the Vanguard attacks, and it's usually the last attack. And so now you have this stride form that gives you an additional Excel circle and stand another unit as your first stride, and now you move another card to have another attack in that sense, still waiting to happen in the sense. So it still follows that same pattern that Flagberg already does. So I feel like it's like the most energetic deck in overdress that you can like just have fun in premium and just play it around like a casual deck in that sense. I think that's really cool. And because you have Persona Ride, you can actually Persona Ride, and then your whole entire front row, including your additional rearguard circles, get the plus 10k blanket. So with that, you're like, wait, what? You can have your 2 front rows and 2 Excel circles, and then your Vanguard get an additional plus 10k, and you can stride on top of that after you Persona Ride too, because it's just for the turn. Now your stride's even bigger too, and then you can just restand those units, where you can have these grade 2s that are an Excel 2 marker, for example, where they just are barely enough to hit the Vanguard, like 14ks usually, but now with the additional plus 10k, there's 24ks. And obviously if your opponent hits a damage trigger, you can still hit over that, but it's additional guard that they have to deal with, and it's another way to give your rear guards power that you're going to restand anyway from that stride skill. So I'm just excited with the Stride Award. There's a lot more to playtest. I am excited to playtest in premium as well, but before we end this video, we still have one more card. We have the G guard called Rebellious Heavenly Flow General Dynera. So this G guard is really cool. When this unit is put into Guardian Circle, you can counterblast 1, perform the following depending on which battle of this turn that battle was. So if this was the first battle, you can choose one of your units and give it a plus additional 5k until the end of the turn. Or the second one is 4th battle or more. This unit gets an additional plus 20k shield until the end of that battle. And like, wait, what? Just slow down a little bit and just see with the first skill. It gives potentially our Vanguard an additional 5k to work with. You could also use this on rearguards if you want them to live, but I feel like putting the power to your Vanguard might be the most value in that sense, because any additional attacks, now you guard with 5k less shield for yourself in that sense. And that can mean the difference with certain multi-attack decks, that there are some that maybe are just hitting enough just to get a card out of your hand, or maybe like they're hitting a 10k or a 15k threshold. Now that you decrease it to a 5k to a 10k threshold, so that makes it easier to guard in that sense too. You could also look at it as your Vanguard, basically your 12k base, you become 17k base for that turn. If you're playing a stoicheia card, you're 13 to now 18k base in that sense. And there's also a stoicheia grade 3 called Shield Fisher Dragon that's already 18k base, and now you have this G guard to make it 23k base during your opponent's turn. So I think that's something that's fun to worth exploring too as well, because you're gonna stride anyway too, and so that card can work in that defensive nature too as well. Now the big shield is also really appreciated in this deck. We have Ice Barrier Dragon, we have Ionis too, that can give us a bigger quality of shield depending on those 4 battles, or like in the case of Ionis, it doesn't matter, it just cares about the rear guards. But you may have those scenarios where you don't have any rear guards. Against clans that remove your rear guards, this card may shine even more, and maybe you didn't want to use this card for the first battle but wanted to save this shield for the last, 4th battle or more, depending on the clan that you have. So it's just appreciative in that sense, and it's just another welcome addition to be flexible in that sense too. And that's it, amigos. I'm just excited to get a chance to play this stride and this new G guard that we now have to our arsenal, so I'm looking forward to play testing. It's really opened the doors to try out something new. I'm always liking to play a casual deck, or even like experiment in the lab to try like have a competitive edge as, maybe the new main deck or maybe the rogue deck. It's just a lot of ideas to play with. So I'm excited and thankful for Bushiroad to be able to have this card, I should say cards in the sense, to be able to mess with in the sense. And if you like this video, give it down a like and let me know in the comments what you think too. What are some strategies that I haven't pointed out, or like different combos that might be worth mentioning too? I love to engage with the community. That way we can grow and prosper in that sense too. And then of course, see you to the next one, amigos. Bye!